Welcome, everybody, to Coming This Summer. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Superbad Sharp. Today, we're going to be looking at Batman, The Batman 2022, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. I went to the theater last night and perused the 2 hour and 56-minute long movie that may or may not have made me dozed off one or two times. First of all, the length of the movie you could really feel. Uh, uh, about 2 or so hours in, the main antagonist of the movie is captured by the Gotham City Police Department. Knowing that the movie is longer, I did check my phone at that time and realized there was still a good third, fourth of the movie left. So, first problems with this movie is that the just you could have cut one or two things out of the movie, in my opinion. I'm not one for a 3 hour long epic if it's not Avengers Endgame. That whole movie better be balls to the wall, nonstop action. And this movie starts with a Nirvana song. And already, right off the gate, you know it's going to be a real downer of a flick if it starts with Nirvana. The movie opens with our main antagonist, the Riddler, Paul Dano, who is looking through a spyglass and into the mayor of Gotham City's window. Now, right off the gate, I thought this was Batman looking into the window because I'm watching a Batman movie. I didn't think it would be starting on the Riddler, but for the first 5 minutes or so, you don't see Batman. It's the Riddler doing Riddler things, but not Riddler things, because this is what we got for Riddler. Fucking Bagman is what we got for Riddler. Now, he looks cool, and I get he's supposed to be the Zodiac Killer-esque. Fine, whatever. And for the movie, it definitely did work, but god damn it, did I miss Jim Carrey in his bowler hat. If I'm going to be honest, that glitter suit should have made an appearance at least once or twice. And actually, on the topic of Riddler, when he gets unmasked and we see Paul Dano in just the glasses, looked more, I bought that more as the Riddler than what we see at the beginning of the movie, which is, and throughout, I guess, which is covered head to toe in I guess like a latex, but like if in like a baggy gimp suit is what he was wearing. And yeah, it was creepy when he first shows up. He breaks into the mayor's house. He attacks him. So he breaks into the mayor's house and kills the mayor. But before he reveals himself, the movie is so dark that it's just him just standing there in the background, and all you see is the TV reflection on his glasses, which kind of made me regret all my opinions about the outfit. But the more and more I saw it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. The first introduction to Riddler, I really liked, but the more and more I saw him on his Instagram live feeds playing on the news, it just didn't, or FaceTime, it didn't work for me. It just, something about it just didn't stick. So we don't get Batman for about 5 minutes or so. It he shows up when these goons, let's say, in white face paint, they all are attacking a man on the subway, and they're beating him up, and all of a sudden you hear dome, 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 these loud footsteps coming from down the hallway. And it's revealed that Batman has taken 30 seconds to walk down a hallway and stand in front of these goons. These straight up Joker gang mother effing goons that aren't explained in any way, shape, or form, but you're just probably going to assume they're a part of the Joker gang because they have white effing face paint. So the first fight ensues, and it's Batman starting with these goons. He's just beating the fuck out of these guys. And my favorite line, which is also my least favorite line, is, "Who are you supposed to be?" And then Bruce Wayne Batman beats the ever living crap out of this guy and drops, "I'm vengeance." And from this point forward, everybody in the movie refers to Batman as Vengeance or him. Nobody says Batman except for the letters that Riddler leaves on the dead bodies for Batman. Now, we get to the part where Batman is walking into the mayor's penthouse with Lieutenant Gordon, not quite the commissioner yet, and the police stop him, and they're kind of like, what's this guy doing here? But they let him through because Lieutenant Gordon and Batman are the best buds and buddy cops all the way. And it was probably my favorite part of the movie. And I didn't know the casting going into this. So seeing Jeffrey Wright pop up as Commissioner Gordon was one of my all-time favorite things in the movie. And now we get the first riddle of the movie, right? And Batman solves it instantly. No questions, just instantly. I know people have compared this movie to Seven and Saw, and that it's a detective movie, but because Batman's solving riddles the whole movie, I don't know if you could call that a detective film, right? People always say that this movie is, oh, they got it right. This is the one where he's a detective. He's obviously going to seem more like a detective when he has to answer questions left by the Riddler. The whole movie is, from that point forward, is we won't know what to do until the Riddler leaves another riddle. So in true Riddler fashion, he is always one step ahead of Batman, which for the whole movie worked. It just worked for me. And I know people say that, Batman's supposed to be smarter, but it's not why make Riddler the bad guy if you're not going to have him be one step ahead of everybody else in the movie. Okay, so the first act, is basically just Riddler leaving riddles for Batman to find. Now, what I liked about this movie is I say Batman a lot because Bruce Wayne, the first scene Bruce Wayne is in is a 5-minute scene when he goes back to the Batcave, which is under Wayne Tower, not Wayne Manor in this movie, which was a nice touch, if I'm going to say. He has to travel through the undercrofts of Gotham City, which looked, I think, the best Gotham City has ever looked in a movie before. But the Bruce Wayne scenes are limited because I think what they wanted to do is, since he is year 2 Batman, it's sort of an addiction that he has. He keeps a journal. He's entitled it The Gotham Project. So he sees it as something he has to do. It's not like he just likes beating up people, He figures he can't do it. He's tried everything as Bruce Wayne. Now it's time to do it this way. Now it's time to go off the book or on the book because he's writing in a journal, I guess. So Batman's whole thing in this movie is that he wants to instill fear into his enemies, his rogues gallery, if you will. Now, the villains that show up in this movie are Riddler, Carmine Falcone, Joker, in a sense, and Penguin. And also, if you want to consider her, I guess Catwoman is fighting him at one point or another in the movie. Now, we have to solve the Riddler's riddles. So one of them eventually leads Batman. Yes, Batman. He shows up as Batman in most things in this movie. He's rarely Bruce Wayne. He shows up to the Iceberg Lounge, which, if you don't know, is where the Penguin, it's like a underground mob ring club, nightclub thing, I guess, in this one. I think in the comic books, I don't know if it's necessarily a nightclub or not, but it's definitely a mob hangout, if you will. So he gets to the Iceberg Lounge. He does a reoccurring thing every time he goes to the Iceberg Lounge. He does something different. the first time he knocks on the door as Batman, he knocks on the door of the Iceberg Lounge, just knocks, and you meet these characters called the Twins. So he gets past them by knocking them the F out and proceeding to beat his way into the Iceberg Lounge as Batman in front of 20,000 people or so in this nightclub. Everybody tries to shoot Batman in this movie, but they never aim for his giant jawline that is sticking out of the Batman cowl. For the entire movie, the bottom half of his face is completely exposed, and nobody decides to shoot him there or even lay a hand on him there. It's either shoot the armor or punch him in the head that's not the face. There's a point where a dude aims a gun at Batman and it's just at the cowl. He's not even aiming at the bottom half of his face. He meets the Penguin and they talk. He's trying to find a woman, I think. He's trying to solve the riddle. And he's asking what the Penguin knows about the mayor's death, right? Because the mayor was undercover, not undercover. He was shady, working for the mob, doing under the table deals and whatnot. So the Penguin should know what's going on with him. So the Batman goes to the Iceberg Lounge. He meets the Penguin. And who comes into the room but Zoe motherfucking Kravitz? Not as Catwoman yet. You don't even know it's Selena Kyle. If you didn't know she was in the movie, you would be like, why is this random chick here? But she walks in and makes a face at the pictures that Batman brought to the Penguin. So Batman sees her reaction and decides to follow her home that night on a motorcycle and decides to stalk her apartment from the other building. And what Catwoman Zoe Kravitz does the second she gets home, goes into her closet and changes into the Catwoman outfit and then parkours down the fire escape. Anyway, Batman sees her escape her apartment in the Catwoman outfit and decides to follow her. And they have, I guess, their first interaction. So we get the cat and the bat, which they do say in this movie, and it didn't work at all. And all the Easter eggs. He gets called world's greatest detective, and it just doesn't quite work. So Catwoman and Batman have to find Catwoman's roommate, Annika, and now Catwoman and Batman are working together, right? So at the beginning of the movie, Batman has these contact lenses that record everything for him. He gives one to Zoe Kravitz and sends her through to the Iceberg Lounge as a double agent spy for Batman. Batman can't do anything there because he already beat the fuck out of everybody, so he's not allowed back in. Obviously, he wasn't allowed in the first time. But Zoe Kravitz she works there, so she's going to go in. She tells Batman about the real club, the club within a club. You know, underneath the actual club, there's another club where all the city officials who are dark and shady go to hang out and do a circle jerk underneath the table. Zoe Kravitz goes down there. She's wearing a red wig now for some reason. And she meets none other than John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, who knows who she is, but is suspicious of her immediately because she's supposed to not be there. Now, I don't know why she even mentioned it if she already knew that she wasn't allowed to be there. So obviously it's not a good idea to go where the Penguin and Carmine Falcone are, where you're not supposed to be, right? She goes and talks to the person she's supposed to talk to. It's another city official, and he's off his rocker. He's drunker than a skunk and reveals some inside things about there being a rat within the shady group of people. The rat is later revealed to be Carmine Falcone. The entire time, Batman and Catwoman believe it's the Penguin. So Catwoman learns that somebody at the table she was interrogating, the city official, knows Annika, her friend, and decides to go and talk to her. She's not biting. She doesn't give her any information. And Catwoman immediately panics, runs into the bathroom, and takes out the contact lens and severs the connection with Batman. So she's no longer on comms with Batman, and now is just trapped in this mob boss's place. After Catwoman severs communication with Batman, the Riddler kidnaps / shows up in the backseat of the guy they were trying to get information out of. He just shows up in his car and straps a motherfucking bomb right to his neck. The people he's targeting are the uppers, the elite, the people who are just shady, who are not good, and corrupt officials. So the next scene or two, we're at the mayor's funeral, and all of the officials are there. Every important person, every regular person in Gotham is here for this mayor's funeral. Everybody who's anybody is there. They have a quick conversation back and forth. He talks to some people, he schmoozes. Not really. He's kind of a recluse. He's very selective with who he talks to. The new mayor even has to plead with him to get his attention even. And a little bit through the funeral, a car from the street comes blasting into this hall cathedral thing that they're in. Now this car is painted, it's got words and all sorts of Riddler junk on it. And you don't know who's driving the car when it blasts through this funeral. And the cops come, they're all there anyway, and they tell the dude to get out of the car, and it's the guy with the bomb around his neck. A little bit later, the bomb squad retrieval unit robot is now on the scene. They've cleared out the entire hall of people, and it's just bomb neck and robot. And the robot has a camera facing the front, obviously for the bomb, and a camera facing the back, obviously if somebody were to approach the robot. And who approaches the robot? None other than the Batman, clonking with his stompers, his chonkin' stompers. So Batman shows up. He basically tells the robot to fuck off and rips the tape off the bomb neck dude's mouth. Now, the whole time bomb neck has been strapped to this chair now. I guess they got him in a chair somehow. But he's now in this chair with a bomb around his neck, tape off the mouth, and a phone taped to his hand. With who calling? The Riddler on fucking FaceTime. That's right, people. The Riddler and Batman FaceTime in this movie. So the Riddler has 3 riddles for Batman to solve. If he solves them all, the bomb neck dude gets to walk free. He solves 2 of them really quickly with the help of the bomb neck guy. But the third question, these are all questions related to who the rat is. If there is a rat, who the rat is. And the guy just doesn't want to give him up. So the timer runs out and he explodes. And Batman blows up with him. Now, you'd think it'd kill him, but it doesn't, obviously. And the Gotham City Police Department rush in because a bomb just exploded and decide to take Batman back to the precinct. For some reason, nobody unmasks him. There's a little back and forth between Lieutenant Gordon and the rest of the Gotham City Police Department. So Batman and Gordon deduce that Penguin is behind everything, and they go to one of his drug deals and learned that every official is basically corrupt and under the employ of Carmine Falcone and the Penguin. As they're busting this drug deal that's going on by the Penguin, Catwoman just kind of shows up for some reason, I guess just to stop the Penguin from doing this drug deal or to either steal the money or steal the drugs, which eventually there's a car chase that happens from all this. When she fucks up and alerts all of them, they figure out Batman and Gordon are there, and we get the introduction of the Batmobile, which in this movie looks better than it has since '89 Batman, because this Batmobile is not a tank with a jet turbine, right? It is a sleek car with a jet turbine, okay? But it works for this movie. It's supposed to be year 2 Batman. You don't really buy that Bruce Wayne spends a lot of his money on just random gadgets. Because in this movie, Batman doesn't have a lot of gadgets. Batman just has basically a grappling hook. I don't even think he uses smoke bombs in this movie. And he uses his Batarang, which is attached to his chest, once in the entire movie to not throw it, but to cut a rope and save Gotham. Anyway, the car chase ensues, and it's Batman driving against Penguin. It's like Speed Racer, but Batman and Penguin, and Catwoman's also there on a motorcycle, kind of. She just kind of bounces with some money that she stole from Carmine and Penguin. But this car chase goes on for a little bit too long, I guess. It's cool because it's a car chase, so it's constantly, amping up. But the car chase ends with Penguin causing like an 18 car pileup with like 2 semi trucks and all these cars knocking down light posts and traffic signs. And conveniently for Batman, a ramp truck forms so that he can drive his Batmobile over these trucks and down onto the Penguin's car. He lands like right behind him and just charges him. And then Penguin proceeds to flip 9,000 times over and over and over again. That would probably kill most people, maybe, but maybe Penguin's got super armor that we don't know about. So Gordon catches up with Batman, and they're interrogating the Penguin, who's tied to this pole or something. He's apprehended. So they question him about the riddles. He says he doesn't really know anything. But then, in Penguin's true fashion, he thinks he's better than everybody. So he decides to call them out on them not knowing some information in the riddle, which then helps Batman and Gordon to figure out the next riddle or cipher or whatever. So they realize that Penguin has nothing to do with it, and they go on their way. And there's a really funny scene of Penguin being tied up and having to waddle away. And it's amazing that they made Colin Farrell Penguin waddle. Straight up like Batman Returns Danny DeVito. Penguin was one of the best things about this movie, and he's in it sparingly, which is a disappointment. So at this point, Batman and Gordon head to an orphanage funded by the Waynes, the Bruce Wayne's parents, and they realize that the Riddler is holding a grudge against all the elites, including Thomas and Martha Wayne. And we actually figure out that the Riddler is trying to target Bruce Wayne, not knowing or also sort of knowing that he's already Batman, and that's why he's also gunning for Batman specifically. All his letters in the movie are addressed to Batman, including the one that was supposed to be for him at Bruce Wayne's manor, Bruce Wayne Tower, right? But Batman is not there. He's at the orphanage with Gordon. So who's home at the manor? Alfred Pennyworth. And he opens a letter addressed to the Batman that is a bomb and straight up blows up. And you think they just killed Alfred, which is played by Andy Serkis, who killed it as Alfred. I really like how it was a younger version of him. Now, you think Alfred's dead. There's a couple scenes in between, but you see Batman arrive at a hospital. Bruce Wayne arrives at a hospital with Alfred, and they have a really long conversation about how Alfred knows who killed Batman's parents, but doesn't know. But Bruce Wayne still says that he lies to him. And at this point in the movie, I was falling asleep because I didn't like any of this. I think if you're going to fake kill Alfred, you should just murder Alfred, in my opinion. So at this point, Selina Kyle reveals that Carmine Falcone is her father and has been the whole time. And she tells Batman that Falcone murdered Annika because the mayor told her that he was the rat, that Falcone was the rat the whole time. So Selina Kyle decides to go to the Iceberg Lounge to murder Carmine Falcone. But before she does, Batman and Gordon obviously show up and stop her. And Falcone later dies to the Riddler. And after that, the Riddler gets unmasked. He's revealed to be Edward Nashton, which I guess is from the comics. He has also other aliases. I always liked Eddie Nigma, because it's just so on the nose for me. It just worked. So here we get the overarching plot of the movie that Riddler has set up bombs all over the city targeting this seawall because he wants to kill the new mayor. And I get pretty much everybody in Gotham because he decides to flood the city with bombs. Now, Riddler being in Arkham at this point, we get finally all of the Riddler goons who are in this arena set aside for the mayor's campaign to murder the mayor. They obviously fail, and I think this is the part where the bombs explode and all the water comes gushing into this underground arena, which doesn't seem like a good spot for an evacuation point. But Selina and Batman decide to team up for one last go at it and fight all the Riddler goons. And there's a point where Batman looks like he's gonna lose, and Selina Kyle drops from the ceiling and saves him in true DC movie fashion. After Selina and Batman beat up all the goons, there are a lot of people trapped down on the underbelly of this arena area, and they're all kind of trapped on this stage where the mayor was that has now collapsed with all this water that's been flowing in from Gotham Harbor because all the water barriers or seawall has been exploded. So now this whole arena is just flooding. There's electrical cables falling from the ceiling that if they touch the water, everybody in that water will die, including two important characters, which are the mayor's son, aka Robin, not Robin, and the mayor. The rest are just, I think, other city officials, just random people, but this wire is hanging from the ceiling. It's letting sparks loose. It's all electriced up and everything. And the Batman decides to, in a last-ditch effort, jump onto the wire. He grabs it, pulls out his batarang, and cuts it, releasing it from the other cable it's attached to, severing the electric connection so that it no longer will cause harm to the people in the water. Which is a pretty cool move on Batman's part. It looks super dope in the movie when it's all dark and you just see the swinging electrical wire light. It's all blue and crackly and ashes are sparking everywhere. And it's just Batman jumping right onto it and cutting that motherfucker like a Hydra head, you know? So it falls into the water. Batman also falls into the water. They give you like a pause like he died, but obviously not because there's other movies happening. But anyway, it's a super fake out. He gets up and goes over to the people who are trapped and decides to reach out and save every single one of them. And there's a really cool scene. He lights a flare and he's leading the pack and all the people behind him are just like fanned out. So all the people are casting shadows behind him and in front of him is just light. Like he's lighting the way. Now, the whole movie, he's been instilling fear into his enemies and realized that was what created the Riddler in the first place. The Riddler took after Batman because he wanted to do it to the city officials instead of the city's dregs. Kind of like reverse, which I bought, but, you know, it could have been executed or said better. At this point, we're wrapping up the movie. The good guys won, bad guys lost. Sun is rising on Gotham because obviously, right? And Batman vows that he will become a symbol of hope instead of a symbol of fear in the movie, and has interactions with people who wince at him at first, and then he shoots them a look, and they're like, okay, I buy you, Batman. You're a hero. Which is a different take on Batman because the Nolan movies, they started kind of to allude to that by the third one when he like takes the nuke over the ocean and like sacrifices himself, but still very much putting fear into his enemies. Never once did he say he has to become hope instead of vengeance. So we get the end of the movie. Selina Kyle has decided to bounce on out of Gotham over to the next city, which is Bloodhaven. They drop the name Bloodhaven, and so the two part ways. And here we get the probably weirdest scene in the movie where his cellmate or the guy next to him turns out to be the Joker. Now, it's not said he's the Joker in the movie, but he says the word clown and does a weird kind of laugh. And the Joker is the only one to say, "Riddle me this." The whole movie, the Riddler doesn't look like the Riddler and never says his fucking catchphrase. And I am vengeance. Come on, man. You have to make him say, "Riddle me this." If he doesn't show up in a sequel and says it, then I'm out. I'm just out. So a weird spot to end on, but I kind of liked it, and I don't know if I'm excited for the future of these movies, but definitely bought the movie overall. I dug Batman. Robert Pattinson as Batman was fantastic. By the end, Paul Dano really grew on me as the Riddler. I liked how much he was Riddler when he was unhinged, putting on a performance for the people. He would do his live streams and broadcast on the news and would sound like classic Riddler. Like he was super crazy and nobody should fuck with him. Now, I would give this movie a middle of the road, probably 6.8 out of 10. So not terrible, not the best thing I've ever seen, but very middle of the road. The length of the movie really hurts that rating. Otherwise, it would probably be a 7.5 or an 8. They could have cut or at least trimmed down some of the scenes that they had within the movie. The Batman car chase with Penguin, the Alfred hospital scene. There's multiple times where he shows up to the Iceberg Lounge nightclub, which is, give or take, pretty good set piece, but overall just the linchpin of the whole movie, which I would have thought the Iceberg Lounge would have looked cooler, but the only thing cool in the Iceberg Lounge is Carmine Falcone's office. The rest is just some shitty diner, nightclub, restaurant. Now, I know this has been a little more long-form content, but what we're going to try and do on this channel is keep it shorter, more concise. I'm sure when there's two of us here, we'll keep each other within boundaries, but honestly, I couldn't shut up about this movie. I'm sorry if it was too long, but I want to thank everybody for watching, and until next time, this has been Coming This Summer. I'm your host, Ryan Superbad Sharp, and thank you for watching.